believe people cared about this? Because we intuitively recognize as rational human beings who are made in the image of God that there is great power in ideas. And that at the end of the day, civilizations are built and cultures are conquered, not so much by armies and navies, but by speeches and lectures, by blogs and books, by the power of ideas much more so than the threat of bullets. In 1948, Richard Weaver wrote a seminal work, and it was titled Ideas Have Consequences. What was his point? Ideas have consequences. You hardly have to read beyond the cover to understand what Richard Weaver was telling us. Ideas matter. They always bear fruit. There's no such thing as a neutral idea. Value neutrality is hogwash. It's nonsense. There is no such thing. All ideas will bear fruit, and good ideas will bear good culture and good government and good community and good church and good kids, and bad ideas will lead to the opposite. Ideas have consequences. Why is 1948 important in this anecdote? It's because Richard Weaver was looking back just a handful of years to World War II, and Hitler, who said, what? Let me control the textbooks and I will control the state. Hitler got it. Ideas have consequences. And Weaver was telling us at that time, this was as predictable as the sunrise. We could have and should have seen World War II and the atrocities of the Holocaust coming. We had been teaching bad ideas for decades, and we bore the bad consequences of those ideas. Ideas have consequences, like your grandmother said. Garbage in and garbage out. And she was right. Education today is clearly in crisis. The contemporary university is no longer known for pursuing truth, but rather for celebrating tolerance. And in the name of tolerance, we are told that our intolerance is intolerable. I work in an industry, higher education, the ivory tower, and I have to listen to this pablum and this nonsense. I can't tolerate your intolerance. I hate you hateful people. I'm sure that nothing is sure. I'm absolutely confident there are no absolutes. I know nothing can be known. This is lunacy. This is nonsense. Smart people say this stuff. They saw off the branch upon which they sit. It's self-refuting at every turn. They should know better, but they have been drinking their own Kool-Aid for so long that they believe their own lies. M. Scott Peck called it the diabolical human mind. Graham Walker wrote a paper. He titled it The Pathology of the Intellect. The Apostle Paul calls it the reprobate mind. The longer we lie to ourselves and believe our own lies, the more danger we are in. The more danger we are in. Ideas have consequences. The result of this nonsense is that the tradition of good teaching has become the dark flag of tyranny almost overnight. What was academic freedom just yesterday is ideological fascism today. Rather than celebrating liberty, liberals now demand conformity. Why did I title my first book, Why I'm a Liberal and Other Conservative Ideas? Now, after listening to me for 10 minutes, you can probably guess I'm a bold and unapologetic conservative. I believe in conserving things. I'm a conservationist. I believe in being a good steward of what God has given us in creation and conserving the air and the water, and an owl and a tree and a whale. Yes, I believe in conserving those things, but there are some other things that should be conserved. They're called the time-tested truths of God, those self-evident truths that have been endowed to us by our Creator. If we don't conserve those ideas and those truths, we will lose our freedom. Our freedom, our liberty, our liberation. What is a classical liberal? A classical liberal harkens back to the birth of the liberal arts institution. Let's go back to Oxford some 1,000 years ago. It was an education for a free man and a free woman, a free society, a free culture, a free country, a free church. It was an education in liberty and liberation, thus the word liberal arts. You are the classical liberals today because you believe in freedom and justice and that it's defined by God, not the power and the privilege of politicians. Liberals believe in liberty, not the progressive power of the privileged. Campuses are now bastions of speech codes rather than bulwarks of free speech. Faculty and students alike are now more interested in trigger warnings than they are in pursuing truth. Run by the state and its thought police, colleges across the land have become indoctrination camps more so than campuses of open inquiry. Propaganda and power now reign where there used to be a pursuit of truth. Our track record is terrible. Decade after decade, we've taught the next generation that it doesn't matter what you believe as long as it works for you, and that all morality is relative and that good and evil are merely subjective social constructs. Year after year, we've preached that pastors and priests are stupid and that liberation theology is the only good religion. Day in and day out, we have fomented class resentment and racial animus, and we've diminished excellence while extolling entitlement. Why are we surprised at the results? Our leaders have lost their courage, our Congress has lost its conscience, our kids have lost their character, and our culture has lost its soul. Ideas have consequences, and the lousy ideas we have been teaching in our colleges and universities, for the past several decades are bearing themselves out daily before our very eyes. But, lest I leave you with that downer, I think there's an answer to this absurdity. What's the answer? It's found in the historical liberal arts, the premise that there are certain moral and intellectual laws tested by time, defended by reason, validated by experience, and endowed to us by our Creator. As far back as Moses and later from Jefferson, we are told that not only by trusting in this paradox of liberty and law, only by trusting in this paradox of liberty and law, can we ever hope to find the protection of our unalienable rights of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, and thereby be a free people and a free country. Freedom trusts in principles rather than power, or people, or politics. Freedom honors the debate because it knows there's an answer, a true north, a measuring rod outside of those things being measured, to quote C.S. Lewis. Chesterton told us that if you get rid of the big laws of God, you don't get liberty, but rather thousands upon thousands of little laws that rush in to fill the vacuum. That's worth the price of admission today. I'm going to repeat that one. If you get rid of the big laws of God, you do not get liberty, but rather thousands upon thousands of little laws, reams upon reams of little laws, produced by this city and this particular place to impose power upon all the rest of the people. We can't live by 10 simple laws any longer, and Jesus narrowed it down to 2, so what do we get? A gazillion little laws from the powerful and the privileged, the elite, who tell us how to live, down to the point of how to use the bathroom. This is absurd. This is not liberty. This is not liberty. This is not freedom. This is fascism. Pure and simple. Pure and simple. A fascist is a Roman bundle of sticks, bound together so tightly that it can't be broken. You've seen it in some of the icons. Go to the Supreme Court and look at the relief above the justices. In concrete, in stone, you will see a fascist. It often has a hatchet head attached to it. Fascist is a Roman bundle of sticks bound together so tightly you can't break it. And it's from that we get the word fascism. You must be one of us. You must be part of the bundle. You must agree with us. You must think like we think. You must believe as we believe. You must be one of us, or we will crush you. Submit or be expelled. You are verboten. You are unwelcome. This is what you see in the academy today. This is what you see in the academy today. Look at Brown and Berkeley and the University of Wyoming and Emory. Look at the stories that you see. Look at the stories, listen to the stories you hear in the nightly news. You know, Berkeley fancies itself as the birthplace of the free speech movement. I wrote an article a few months ago, and I challenged that. I suggested that Berkeley is not the birthplace of free speech, because it's evident in the college green and in the college classroom at Berkeley that they do not believe in free speech. They believe in fascism. They believe in controlling and suppressing an open and robust exchange of ideas. And the reason that they believe that is they don't believe in truth any longer. They believe in tyranny, because it is the group that will decide. It is the power that will decide which ideas will be discussed at Berkeley. Berkeley is not the birthplace of free speech. Bethlehem is, because it's in the words of Jesus. It's in the words of Jesus. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. That we experience liberty and liberation and freedom and justice, because they're measured by him and not you and not me. I'm fond of giving a speech at commencement at Oklahoma Wesleyan University. I've given it many times. So pretend with me, if you will, for a second. You've attended my university for 4 long years. Some of you for 5 and 6 and 7. Today is commencement day, and I'm up here to give you your commencement speech. Now, I've been way too long-winded and way too boring. You're not here to listen to me talk. You're here to celebrate. So now, students, with your parents and grandparents and your aunts and uncles watching, you sitting there in your funny cap and gown and me standing before you in mine, I want you to stand up. I want you to stand to your right and my left and come across the stage alphabetically to receive your diploma. As you do, students, I'm going to congratulate you. I'm going to say good for you. I'm going to pat you on the back, and I'm going to say, congratulations. You just received a degree in opinions. And as I give that speech, much like you right now, you could hear a pin drop, because people are thinking, what in the world are you talking about? And that's the way you should react. A degree in opinions? After 4 long years of study, 4 years of memorization, 4 years of taking tests, quizzes, 4 long years of the rigor of the academy, 4 long years of lousy cafeteria food, 4 long years of paying tuition. I'm going to congratulate you for having a degree in opinions? That's absurd. That's absurd. I would hope after studying here for 4 years, you've actually learned something. And today's students, as you graduate, I don't care what your opinion is. I do not care. And you shouldn't care that much about mine. Opinions always lead to bondage and slavery. Pol Pot and Mao and Robespierre and Chavez and Hitler and Mussolini, all the despots of history had opinions, didn't they? And it did not end well. But Jesus told you, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. I don't care what your opinion is today, and you shouldn't care about mine. And if any of you, before you get your diploma today, dare to raise your hand and say, well, I disagree with you, that's just your opinion of what education should be, let me challenge you with this. If you majored in nursing and you're going to administer medication to me on the basis of your opinion, would you please, please, please stay away from me? You're dangerous. You don't know what you're doing. And if you are an engineering major and you're going to leave here and design airplanes on the basis of your opinion, please tell me which one it is. It's not going to fly. You and I both know it. Opinions always lead to disaster and slavery and failure. Truth sets you free. Now come forward and get your degree. A degree that stands for the primacy of Jesus Christ. A degree that believes in the pursuit of truth because it isn't made up by you. It's not about your feelings or your opinions. A degree that actually pursues truth as an objective reality, not a social construct. The primacy of Jesus Christ, the priority of Scripture, the pursuit of truth, and the practice of wisdom. Because after you get your degree and have the right ideas, the orthodoxy. I actually expect you to be a right human being and have orthopraxy. I actually believe that you should practice what you preach. You should be a man or a woman of integrity and integrate head and heart and fact and faith and belief and behavior into a whole human being that can be trusted rather than questioned with securing the future of my freedom and yours. I have spent 20 minutes talking to you right now. I've got 5 minutes left. I've used words, haven't I? You've thought that you agree or disagree with me. You celebrate what I say or you're challenging what I say by virtue of formulating words. And do you know why you do that? It's because you're the imago Dei. You're not the imago dog. You're made in the image of God, and you have the ability and the responsibility and the culpability of thinking and debating and arguing and challenging and doing so through the use of definitions and words. You know, when I drove to the airport yesterday to fly here, I drove through the Oklahoma ranches, and there were cattle to the left and to the right as I did so, driving from Bartlesville to Tulsa. And you know one thing I noticed? None of those cows were arguing with one another. Why? They're not the imago Dei. They're not the image of God. They're the imago dog. They're animals. They follow their inclinations and their appetites. They're defined by their passions and proclivities. They're animals. You are not. One of the greatest lies of our culture today is this lie that the sum total of human identity is nothing but your inclinations. It's the lie of the LGBTQ nomenclature and ontology and anthropology. You are more than what you're inclined to do. And God help us if you're not. I'm inclined to do a lot of things that I choose not to do because I'm a morally culpable human being, and I can think and I can use words to understand what my responsibility as the imago Dei is. And when you dumb down the definition of your words, you lose the definition of everything, down to the point where you can't even define what a male or female is any longer. I've got news for you. At Oklahoma Wesleyan University, we're pro-woman and we're proud of it. And do you know why? It's because I believe women are real. I believe in the biological fact of the female, and we teach that at my university. We still believe in biology and physiology. We still believe in genetics, and we teach it. I refuse to insult the woman by suggesting that she's nothing but a leprechaun or a unicorn, a fabrication, a fantasy that you're make-believe, and that any dysphoric male on any given day can raise his hand and take away your shower, take away your bathroom, take away your sport, and take away your rights, and take away your dignity, and take away your identity. You cannot be a feminist and deny the feminine. It's misogyny. It's misogyny, pure and simple. Why do you remain silent in the face of this nonsense? I received a letter from the federal government a couple years ago from the Department of Education and the Office of Civil Rights demanding that I provide transgender accommodations on my campus. I sent them a letter back. And I said, no. And I said, how can I comply with Title IX, a 1972 law that was authored and passed to give women equal access to the athletic field, to facilities, to scholarships, to programs, if I now do what you're demanding I do? Demand that women aren't real. I can't give women equal access to anything if they aren't a fact. If they're nothing but a fantasy of a delusional dysphoric male, then women have no rights because they don't exist. So Department of Education, my answer is no, I won't. You know what happened? They sent us a letter back saying, okay.